All right, welcome to day 87 of learning the cello with Matt May's YouTube handle, Mojo Kiss. Welcome to my room. I'm super cozy here, and you can get cozy too. Hopefully you're cozy at home. I've been playing the cello for 87 days now, and I'm teaching myself. I found a cello on Facebook Marketplace. I had been shopping for one for a while. I kind of had some money from playing music and whatever. And one day I went out and bought a 30-foot sailboat, a new kind of new, really nice PA speaker that has a great sound. It's very modern and powerful, professional. And I bought this cello in the same day. And I had planned this whole trip to go out and buy all these things off Facebook Marketplace. So I had to set the cello up myself and make it more comfortable to play, basically. And I started out trying to play some things on it that I played on violin. And that was, of course, impossible and very difficult. And I tried to play some chords so that I could sing with the cello. And I think that was my plan all along, was to use the cello to accompany my singing, right? So that I could perform solo with the cello. And I knew, even though I wasn't going to be able to play with the bow and be able to play advanced cello music and be interesting in that way, I thought maybe I could use it kind of as I do guitar. When I play guitar, I don't play a lot of lead. I kind of lean more on the harmony and the chords and do as much as I can with the guitar using pretty simple elements. So I'm applying that to the cello. So like a bass line, you can pluck the bass line or you can bow the bass line. Chords, you can strum, you can pluck, strum, and you can play arpeggios, So, and then there's things called double stops. You can play simple chords. If you're using a loop pedal, which is another part of this journey, then you can do the bass line and you can play double stops for the other notes that are in the chord that the bass is not playing. Or it doesn't matter, as long as you can just play two notes at the same time, and you've basically got a nice sound. And those two little notes just kind of keep the rhythm going, and it fills in space and gives you something to maybe play a lead over or sing over. And I've been trying to, as I learn how to play the cello, I'm also trying to find ways of using what the cello can offer within my ability to create this looping show where I can do a whole show, like let's just say 2 hours, maybe 2 sets, or just 2 hours straight of looping. And that has come to consist of some original material and some cover tunes. And I found that the cover tunes that I like to do, I would say, first of all, a lot of them come from the 80s. And they're not like 80s top 40. They're like 80s new wave. I don't really think of new wave as being in the top 40, although some of the new wave tunes definitely were in the top 40. But there's also a lot of other songs that these artists did that might not have made it into the top 40, but are still good songs. Plus, those songs are well known by enthusiasts and fans, and those are all ages and from all walks of life all over the world. So I really enjoy doing those new wave songs, also known as goth tunes or post-punk, and cold wave is another newer style. I believe it's a newer style that borrows some of the, I think it borrows some of the new wave influences, but boils them down to its own sound. Therefore, it gets its own name. And a lot of artists that do cold wave just keep the same sound for all their songs. And it's a very genre-esque phenomenon, I would say. And speaking of staying in one genre, I want to mention also the other phenomenon of being genreless and just following your taste for music, which may jump across many genres. It might not fit into a genre. And so for me, that happens because my genre is reaching my goal with the cello as a performer. And my goal is to do what the cello can do for me within my means, and to mix that up and offer it out to the world and hope that it resonates with music enthusiasts. Not everybody is a music enthusiast. Not everybody cares about listening to music. I know that's hard for me and other musicians to say, and to realize not everybody cares about music like we do. But regardless, that is my goal, is to reach people with my music in a way that the music feels important and that they feel something with the music. So it's like a game. And how do I know that I'm reaching my goals? That I get discouraged sometimes, and I'll go through a period of discouragement. It might last 10 minutes, and it'll make me think, maybe I'm doing things wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this at all. Maybe I shouldn't be playing cello. Maybe I shouldn't be playing, let's see. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be expecting so much from myself in such a short amount of time. Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And you have to be realistic, obviously, about all of those things. So I'm thinking, I need to have ways of measuring my progress. I need to have ways of getting out of my emotional cycles and being able to objectively say, how good are we at this? How good are we at this? And for example, playing in tune, right? That's very hard to do on the cello. It's your hand is making shapes. It's not just about stretching, it's about making shapes and using muscles together in all the different muscles together that you've never used before in that way, and creating a picture, an image, a mental image in your brain so that your brain can go back and do that when you sit down to play the cello, easier and easier as you go. So measuring how good am I playing in tune, is it getting better? Obviously it's going to get better if you practice right. Practice slowly and focused, and also have a good attitude. You have to want to play that in tune note, or you have to want to play those two notes together to be in tune. And in order to want something, you have to know what the essence of that thing is. Otherwise, it's like saying, I want something, but I don't know what it is. I feel like I want something, but I don't know what it is. Well, with music, with playing the cello or strings, you have to know the essence. You have to feel and know what you're going for. And you have to know when something's out of tune. You have to want it to be in tune. You have to hear it in tune, and then go for that note and do all of that slowly. It takes a special focus and a special sacrifice. You have to really want that note in order to get it and to get it in tune. And you'll never get it on the first try. It is this repetitive thing. So day 87, I've been practicing and playing the cello, I would say every day, usually for a few hours. a day. And I've played some Bach, which is like Baroque, like classical music. Koa, stop scratching. That's my dog. And obviously there's noises. There's lots of noises here, but I'm doing playing cello music over this is the plan here. So you're probably hearing some cello, and this is like 10 minutes long now. So that's an introduction to what I'm doing. And I already have bookings to play the cello solo at shows. Some of those shows I have like a drummer, but I have bookings, and that pushes me and that motivates me to practice in a focused way. It gives me something to want that's specific. Stop. And without that specific goal, oh well, I give up. I can't stop all the noises. So, in closing, for me to be able to practice this, there's tons of distractions in my life all the time. And you just have to kind of go with the flow and kind of barricade yourself as much as possible from that flow as well, because there's always going to be things to distract you, to stop you, that show up that are different than what you expected, So, in a way, like, one thing, there's two different ways you can go about that. Either barricade yourself and hide completely from everything, or throw yourself out there and, for example, take the cello and go play it on St. Pete Pier, where people busk and play in public for money. And the point wouldn't necessarily be to make money, but to get out in front of an audience. And you can sit out there and play for an hour if you want, Whereas another option would be go to an open mic, but you're going to be sitting there not playing, and then you're going to be rushed to set up. You're not going to even have time to warm up, and you're only going to play 2 or 3 songs, and there's only going to be a couple people there. So actually busking is way more intense, and you learn a lot more, a lot faster. So I realize some people don't have the gear to go out and busk, but you don't even need a sound system. You can just take your guitar and sit on a bench and just play in public. It's just a way of, it's a psychological exercise of getting out there and getting over a lot of these encumbrances that we have as musicians starting out. And not many people are going to do that. Not many people are going to take their instrument, their cello or your guitar, and sit in public and play. But there are people that do, that simply do it because they like being in a public place. It's comforting. It feels good. They like it. And they like being in nature. It feels good, and they like it. They like playing the guitar. It feels good, and they like that. So they have no problem doing that. They have no problem doing something with arguably less skill than 90% of the other competent, practiced musicians that are out there, but they're doing something that 90% of those musicians would never do because they feel silly doing it, or whatever, and they might not even see a reason. These other musicians might say, why would I want to do that? I play gigs, but I think we forget sometimes that the world is not just, your only options are not just what is already being done. like there's more than one path. You don't just have to play gigs. That's not the only pathway. And I really value this whole, like, the busking thing. And I also value playing in places that are not the usual, because the usual places are just going to give you like a mainstream set of the Overton window, a mainstream set of the conversation and of expectations and all that stuff. And it's these, like a bar gig and things like that, everyone is, it's played out. It's not a creative environment. It's tired. But I'm happy to be playing at art galleries, which I've been doing for, I guess, a few years now, off and on. I really like that. Art events. It's fun for me because I like to play different types of music to adapt to a room and such. And so that's what I've got coming up with the cello. I've got an art event that I'm going to play the cello at. And it's a landscape gallery showing. I forget what you call that. And it's for Carrie Jadis. And I'm thinking about, what can I play? And I'm experimenting with the tone of my cello with the microphone on it and the pickups, and I'm experimenting with like the EQ. Like, I still haven't gotten that down. There's like 3 different pickups that I'm trying on the cello. And plus the cello it's not a great cello. And that's a whole nother thing, is like, you don't need a great cello to start or whatever, but you absolutely cannot play a garbage violin-shaped object, VSO. You need a real instrument, and you got to find that sweet spot where you can afford it, but it's also playable, and it gives you a good feeling. It's playable. Doesn't give you pain, and not too much pain, and it has a good wood to it, a good tone. It's well made, and it's not falling apart and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I'm lucky, because that's where I am with my cello that I got. It's a good cello, and I got it for a steal, $150. Most of the cellos that I've found that are decent are around $800, $900, $1,000, $4,000. I think the $4,000 is like the next level up for me from this cello. And like I said, this one was only $150. So awesome. Well, we'll keep this video under 20 minutes. This has been just fun for me, just nice and relaxing. I've been making YouTube shorts, hundreds of them now, probably. I don't know, a lot. And, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of also just stupid at the same time. So I thought I'd sit down and do this. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to listen back, if I can. I'm going to listen back to what I've recorded, and I'm going to play cello over it while I listen back. And that's the cello that you're hearing now. This has been fun for me. I will see you later. If you're new here, please subscribe, because I want to see you again. I hope you want to see me again. And if you're a musician, especially a cello, I'm super excited to hear from you. And I'm going to get back to the chaos here. This has been a nice little break. So, see you later.